Go ahead.
Good morning, class. Resolved, U.S. citizens should be required to serve mandatory military service shortly after high school. The reason why our citizens should be required for this task is because many of us maybe unknowingly or knowingly take our freedoms for granted, such as like the things we see and the things we do now don't compare to what someone that's in our shoes that goes in the military and that sees things from different perspectives, sees political views differently, sees world change differently, and definitely sees war differently as they participate in it, and this may cause less wars for the United States. As well as our number one enemies, such as Russia and North Korea, they require mandatory military service, and Russia alone has a huge population of this, and so the tension that has been going on between us has definitely sort of. Is there the clicker on here?
Should have been right. And you pull that down.
This has caused tension, such as what happens in many of our pop culture and films. This could cause Russia to have more military power than we can to possibly overcome us and things like this. Theodore Roosevelt, former president of the United States, was famously quoted for saying, "Walk quietly but carry a big stick." This is what America needs to go back to doing, because now that Russia is the bigger military dog with more personnel and just as much of equipment during the Cold War as we did, we need to go back to showing our dominance, because no country is going to want to mess with 3 million citizens ready to fight and well trained. And I don't think they'll even think of doing this or even causing any trouble with us. But finally, many people think of war or being in the military as you have to go out and shoot, being blown up by IEDs, missiles shooting down your aircraft, but it's really not like that. Our citizens can achieve many different things and have many different first-hand experiences, such as one wants to be a technician, they can work on Humvees, they can work on aircraft. One wants to be a commercial pilot, they can be a pilot in the military. All these things are not, you don't have to go and shoot them up. This isn't Call of Duty. It's not just shooting someone, it's going out and you can have first-world experience of being a mechanic, and also serving your country and getting first-world experience. So almost like going to a trade school, as many people do after high school, or even during high school. This just goes to show that mandatory military service will be a great benefit to our youth, and after the military they go on to college, or they can go right into their field and just essentially hit the ground running. And obviously this offers many other things. It will bring about maybe some tax breaks as the military does now, or maybe even possibly free college as the GI Bill has as the GI Bill is in effect now. And in Israel, a country that does offer this, if you serve in a military career, you receive early retirement, and people will tend to go into other careers after this with the knowledge they've experienced through the military and the knowledge that they can gain, to possibly give them a better head start than most countries, which will bring our country maybe up to better standards and a better economy with more skilled workers than people who really don't know what they're doing in college. Thank you.
Okay, negative? Yeah, me too.
Alright, I am the negative. Against, U.S. citizens should be required to serve a tour in any branch of the military shortly after high school. Good morning. Today, our military is among the top 5 biggest and greatest. I would start out with a quote, Alexander Hamilton. If you force a country's citizens that no longer supports its military to serve, their citizens will uproar. We are also one of the most technologically advanced militaries in the world currently. So why should we have a large army during peacetime, meaning making people join the military shortly after high school between the ages of 18 and 21? Currently, if a large surplus of troops are needed, the commander-in-chief can call for a draft. This is during wartime. It's happened during World War II. Currently, we have a system that supports our veterans returning home called the VA program. And if we have an excessive number of veterans, we will not be able to support it. And these are the people who wanted to fight, people that fought in World War II, Korean War, Cold War, fighting to keep the American flag flying high. There are currently 27 countries that require military service, and extensively, all 27 have a population lower than 2 million. To compare, the U.S. alone has 2.25 million in its military serving alone, voluntary serving. But in the other 27 countries, it's not all at one time. So going to the military right after high school, it interrupts their lives, and it takes away from doing things they want to do in their careers. Thank you.
All right, affirmative 2.
Okay. Good morning. And we believe that, the U.S. should change their laws so that all males should be required to serve in the military shortly after college. And the plan is pretty simple. Put it in the law. Just place it in the law and enforce it strongly. A lot of countries do this. Like he said, 27 countries currently do this, but he did say it's small because we have they have small populations. But compared to China, one of our big enemies, we have a fairly small population, so that's why we would need it. But the plan will work because, like he said, we as a country, if we have more military personnel and we are known as the home of the brave, then no one's going to want to mess with us. So if they know that every single male U.S. citizens, along with women that want to enlist, are in our military, no one's going to want to mess with us. Everyone's going to know our power is way too strong for them to overcome. Thank you.
Okay, negative.
Alright, so as Jacob stated earlier, there are about 2 million active troops serving in the U.S. China has the largest at just a little over 2,250,000. So the U.S. is right behind them. China has 1 billion people in this country. Under their proposal of everyone joining the military when they turn about 18, so there's an estimated 31 million 18-year-olds just enrolled in school of some sort. So that number shoots up from 2 million to suddenly 31 million. And that's about 22 times larger than what we already have. So currently, the U.S. spends about $581 billion on its military. And you can see China's nowhere near that at $129 billion. So if we're already spending, $581 billion on about 2 million people serving, where the heck are we going to get the money to, support another 30 million people? And like he said earlier, there are 27 countries that currently require conscription, and these countries include Taiwan, Israel, Cyprus, where they're really small populations, and so even with mandatory military service, their army sizes are average at best, and so it doesn't, impact their economy the way that it would with us. And So, you know, the US is way beyond that point of needing to require military service.
Okay, you guys got 5 minutes, I'll time it out. The rest you can chat. Yes, sir. Wait till they're.
Alright, we are back. So the debate so far is, this side believes that we should have required military service for people just entering high school, and we, the negative, do not believe that that is necessary. The current status quo works well because the commander-in-chief, if we need an excessive amount of troops for a war, he will call a draft in America. And some reasons why the affirmative plan is inconsistent, that there will be 31 million people aged 18 to 21 going to college that will be forced to serve, and this does not include high school dropouts and also people that are currently not in college in a minimum wage job. Also, another few more details is that people would have to get paid in order, when they're forced to serve in the military. Total costs and benefits would probably have to go to the taxpayer in order to pay them, because they can't be serving in the military and then come back and then have little to nothing. And there will be a giant gap in their career, and then 18-year-olds that are currently in college gain further knowledge about the career they want in their major, and it disrupts their lives. And when you say you do homework, if you take a break from it, you don't want to come back and start it again. And then we're going to talk about injured or special needs citizens. They would obviously there would have to be something else for them. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to.
Okay, so ways that this is better than what is currently going on now is that this provides U.S. citizens with more knowledge, and it prepares them, it prepares them more about world issues and makes our citizens stronger mentally and physically, because as you can tell, our Navy SEALs are probably one of the #1 military special forces units in the world because of the way that they train. So obviously this makes our population more physically fit, so which will obviously lower the rate of obesity, which will cause a more mentally more respectful nation as rather than what has been going on now with certain issues that have been going on. As Jacob Massimia just said, this will affect our citizens' total careers, and that our citizens will not be able to want to come back to college, or that it'll mess with the way that they think, and things such as that. And that 3.1, I believe he gave a statistic of 31 million people going to college would I guess have to go and serve due to the fact that they are most of them 18. So people go down a little bit. Russia currently has, these are the statistics of Russia's available manpower, which is 69 million. There's also other copious amounts, but a statistic, Russia has 3.25 million personnel in the military, and with America's mandatory military service, we would only have 3.1 million due to Jacob's stat. So this also states that our military would not be as efficient even if we had a full-blown mandatory military service, or let alone just a draft to have half of the citizens. So back to my other point about the college and the tuition and things like that. Our college this would not affect our students or our nation's jobs or anything like that, or education. This would more affect them in the benefit that they do get to learn stuff in the military. They do get to learn whether they want to be a technician or a civil engineer, because these fields can be accessed in the military. Let's say one person wants to be a doctor, they can work as a field medic or a nurse in the military itself. So there's no reason that someone isn't able to, or that this would affect them in any sort of way, because they're not taking a break from their homework. They're continuing on and doing the same homework, but for maybe a more important reason or things like that. This will help them to continue on with their knowledge in a way that gives them medical experience rather than college sitting in a class and taking down notes. This gives them field experience on how to repair someone from getting bullet damage, as you would see in an ER, or how to repair a car that's almost been totaled, or things like that if you want to be a mechanical engineer or a mechanic. So there's really no rebuttal per se to for the education, that it affects our students' education, and that we don't need a big military, because we do need a big military, and as shown with Russia's mandatory service, as they have less population but they have more people serving. Thank you.
Okay, Jacob Cross.
So the affirmatives are saying that we should make mandatory military service. However, that is not needed, because we already have, we can, when the need would need to arise for more troops, we have the draft system already in place. So you can draft during wartime, and in peacetime, we already have one of the largest militaries in the world, and these are all people that volunteer on their own, personal will. And so the majority of them, they actually want to serve, and you're not going to get a bunch of, butt heads that could jeopardize missions or anything like that. And also, like I said earlier, the cost, we're already paying $581 billion, and we're trillions of dollars in debt. So where the heck are you going to get more money to pay these people that, for the most part, wouldn't really be doing anything?
Okay, so Holden.
I got your paper.
So, mandatory, should be mandatory for people to serve in the military. And I want to touch base on what they just said about their college, how they won't want to come back to it, and they won't want to pay for it, and they won't be making enough money in the military to pay for college as they would. They're working that 2 years instead of the military. Well, this chart here shows the average. Well, there is the extremes most, but this is just average of the pay. And as any of you guys know, you guys have been looking into college. It's costs about $40,000 for 4 years of college. The executive branch has the power to change the Constitution to from the change of society, such as the change of military. What they could do is change the payment of public school to be free to the people who've served, which they would actually end up saving more than $10,000 in many cases. So that would save money, and that would give them initiative, like Cross was saying. The people that would be forced to serve in the military wouldn't want to, and they could jeopardize missions. But if they're getting free schooling after, then they're going to want to join. They're going to want to work hard so that they can get free education and save money in the long run. They won't be up to their ears in debt. Thank you.
Okay, you guys got 1 minute to come up with a question, and then we'll take that.
Vietnam War, the draft was enabled. We ended up losing it from not having enough force against North Vietnam. That just shows it doesn't work. What do you say about that?
That was a time in the U.S. where the citizens were not actively participating in the war, unlike World War II.
They were on the battlefront. They were in planes the Air Force.
Right, but
It didn't fit the ideals of the citizens of the U.S.
Right.
Most people did not want to be part of it, so a lot of people were, refusing to.
and there was not as much participation in the U.S. themselves than on front lines.
There was plenty of people participating. I mean, there was a draft you had to participate, or else you would have to flee the country. And I don't believe that many people.
There were so many people that stood up against the draft that.
But they still had to go. It wasn't like it was like optional. They had to go. It was mandatory. They had to go. They had to serve their country. They had to fight for their freedoms. And in the end, we did end up losing it because we didn't have sufficient manpower. We didn't have the manpower we needed to destroy the Viet Cong and to beat back essentially the first branch of terrorism. So if we had that now in the current battle against ISIS, how do you think ISIS would feel, or even Al Qaeda? Do you think if we had a 3.1 million? Oh, excuse me.
Well, I just say stop when it comes up. Okay, your turn.
Just talk the whole time so they can answer.
Strategy.
You said that, even, you misquoted us. We said 31 million, not 3.1 million troops would be joined.
All right,
So-
so what's your question?
So, now that you know the correct, info, do you still think that army's not large enough to compete with Russia?
I don't think it's enough to compete with Russia or North Korea as well, as they have. You said 31 million is going into college and stuff, and is becoming 18 and becoming young adults. Russia, North Korea, and China, all of our three major enemies due to communism, because we've been essentially in conflict with them since World War II. They have 5,200,000. Excuse me, can you read that stuff for me? I can't do numbers right now. This one right here.
1,525,400,000.
People going in to be 18. Now, 31 million isn't very enough. So what I'm saying is, with your draft, with only having a certain amount of people that can go against that, rather than having our full population ready to go and ready to fight as China would, I don't think that a draft would work in that certain situation.
But how would China be ready?
What do you mean how would China be
How
ready?
could all their people?
They're but from a central government. They're all communists.
Okay, give them a round of applause, please. We'll, I'm gonna go through these and see who you pick.